Good morning. No word on the 162 still missing on AirAsia Flight 8501. Meanwhile, hundreds of passengers on a burning ferry adrift between Italy and Albania are waiting to be rescued. North Korea in the headlines in 2014. Arirang News Unification Ministry correspondent Hwang Sung-hee joins us in the studio for North Korea, the year in review. Capping off the year with a swim at the frigid coast of Pohang. Crazy? Well, this is how they say goodbye to the old and hello to the new. More on News Sum Up. And what's in store for us in the new year? A little forecast and what's up ahead in the year fortune-wise. Hashtag CuriousInKorea on Korea Today, Monday, December 29th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning. I'm Oh Jun-ju with Kim Young and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning, everyone. We've had some tragic news from over the weekend. Another passenger jet missing and a ferry on fire off the coast of Italy. And these are the top stories we're following this morning. An urgent search operation is underway for a missing AirAsia passenger jet that is carrying 162 people from Indonesia to Singapore. We'll get an update on the situation with our Cha Mina, who's following the developments at the news center. Good morning to you, Mina.
Good morning to you, Min-jung.
Now, experts are looking into many possibilities, but it seems like they're leaning towards the plane having crashed due to bad weather. What do we know so far?
That's right, Min-jung. The Airbus A320 disappeared Sunday morning as it was flying over the Java Sea in what should have been just a 2-hour flight from Surabaya, Indonesia to Singapore's Changi Airport. Indonesia's Transportation Ministry says dense storm clouds were reported in the area at the time, adding that the pilot had asked permission to raise the plane's altitude before contact was lost. An air and sea search was immediately launched, but no signs of any wreckage or trace of the plane was found before nightfall. And as of now, the main search operation has been scaled back and is set to fully resume at daybreak Monday. Meanwhile, AirAsia's CEO Tony Fernandez flew to Surabaya to address the media and relatives.
About what's happened. It's unbelievable. But we do not know what's happened yet. So we'll wait for the accident investigation to really find out what's happened. Our concern right now is for the relatives and for the next of kin. There is nothing more important to us for our crew's family and for the passengers' families that we look after them. That is our number one priority at the moment.
Now, among the 162 passengers on board, Seoul's foreign ministry has confirmed that 3 of them were South Korean nationals. What kind of action, if any, is the Korean government mulling over at this point?
Well, South Korea's foreign ministry said it convened an emergency meeting to address this issue. This is following the news of the missing aircraft, saying that it will monitor progress in the search operations. Ambassador for Overseas Koreans and Consular Affairs Lee Jung-kwan said the Seoul government will closely watch the situation and study various options, including dispatching a response team. We do now know, though, that the government is sending 2 investigators to help and monitor the situation there, as well as a patrol boat.
I believe it's a couple and their young daughter on board that missing plane. I hope we do get some good news on that front.
Sure.
Now, on to another tragedy unfolding in the waters between Greece and Italy. An Italian ferry carrying 478 passengers caught on fire on Sunday, and hundreds are awaiting rescue as we speak. What more can you tell us?
That's right. Another piece of devastating news today as ships and helicopters are taking part in rescuing passengers after the vessel caught fire northwest of Corfu, Greece. The Italian Defense Ministry says 1 person has died after jumping from the ship and another has been confirmed injured. At least 172 people, meanwhile, have been evacuated, but more than 300 remain on the Norman Atlantic as choppy seas and strong winds are hampering the nighttime rescue. Italian media reports say some of the rescued passengers include a 7-month pregnant woman and her 2 children who are all being treated for hypothermia. Most of those on board were Greek. Others came from Italy, Turkey, Germany, and many other countries. And that is going to, for now, wrap it up for me with your global headlines this morning.
Thank you, Mina. Now to the domestic front. South Korea, the United States, and Japan is set to sign a trilateral intelligence sharing pact on Monday in efforts to improve defenses against evolving nuclear and missile threats from North Korea. Once the arrangement is signed, Seoul is expected to share Class 2 to 3 classified information with Tokyo while retaining the right to withhold sensitive information with either allies. Under the deal, Class 1 classified information will not be shared. No direct sharing between South Korea and Japan is expected, but the respective countries will share information with the U.S., and the U.S. may share with the other with consent. The indirect method is in consideration of the public sentiment in South Korea against military collaboration with Japan, which once colonized Korea. Some civic groups still oppose the intelligence pact. The pact is expected to strengthen the three-way security cooperation that has been lackluster due to historical and territorial feuds between Seoul and Tokyo. Vice defense ministers of the three countries will individually sign a memorandum of understanding on Monday. And former Russian ambassador to North Korea has been tapped as Moscow's new envoy to South Korea. According to the Voice of Russia, Alexander Timonin, who served in the Russian embassy in Pyongyang since May 2012, will replace outgoing ambassador Konstantin Vnukov, who's been being assigned to serve as the top diplomat in Vietnam. 62-year-old Timonin, before his 2.5-year stint as Moscow ambassador in North Korea, had served as a diplomatic minister at the Russian embassy in Seoul. Sources say Timonin, who's expected to begin his tenure early next year, has been tapped ahead of a possible summit between Russia and North Korea as early as February of 2015. And meanwhile, Deputy Director General Alexander Machagora with Russia's foreign ministry has been appointed as Moscow's top envoy to North Korea.
Now, North Korea made headlines throughout the year from news of the UN Security Council putting the regime's human rights abuses on its official agenda to the recent hacking of Sony Pictures. Now, for a review of this year's North Korea-related stories, we're now joined by Arirang News' Unification Ministry correspondent Hwang Seung-hee here in the studio. Good morning, Seung-hee.
Good morning.
So what would you say was the biggest North Korean news story of 2014?
Well, Jinju, it would have to be the surprise visit to South Korea by a high-level North Korean delegation in October. Nobody had expected the trio, Hwang Byung-seo, Choi Ryong-hae, and Kim Yang-gun, to land in Incheon for the closing ceremony of the Incheon Asian Games. Now, analysts say the main purpose of the visit was to congratulate the North Korean athletes on their achievements. They made it to the top 10 rankings for the first time, and sports has been high on Kim Jong-un's agenda since he took office. So that's the main purpose of their visit.
It surely was a surprise visit by the three high-profile North Korean officials, but wasn't the visit also seen as a possible breakthrough for inter-Korean relations?
Yes, it did come at a time when North Korea had been sitting on South Korea's offer for talks for over 2 months. The trio met with senior South Korean officials and agreed to hold a second round of high-level talks at a time and place convenient for the South. But this momentum was very short-lived after North Korea was infuriated with anti-Pyongyang leaflet launches by South Korean activists.
Right. They accuse South Korea for ruining the opportunity for inter-Korean dialogue. Now, another newsmaker this year was North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's prolonged absence.
That's right. Kim Jong-un was not seen for 40 days. That's over a month. And this had triggered wild rumors that he had passed away, that he was overthrown, that he had serious fatal illness, mental problems. But take a look at these pictures. Now, these are the very first photographs of Kim after his absence. He apparently had a cyst removed on his right ankle. And as you can see, he's carrying a cane with a huge smile on his face. Analysts say this is to show his commitment as a leader, that he's looking after his people despite his physical discomfort. So North Korea has turned this into an occasion to shore up public support for the leadership, but his health problems still remain. He is known to be a heavy drinker, heavy smoker, and he's also very overweight.
And onto Kim Jong-un's power consolidation process. Last year, Kim Jong-un executed his uncle Jang Sung-taek to tighten his grip on power. So would you say his grip on power got stronger this year?
Well, the Unification Ministry says Kim Jong-un continued with his reign of terror last year, purging anyone close to his uncle Jang Song-taek. He is apparently in the final stages of forming his own power base, and analysts say that he has been using his powers of appointment, dismissal, and promotion for political loyalty. Take a listen.
He's moved people around, and once they've been shown that Kim is in charge and they've been dropped down or demoted, they realize their transgressions and will be very thankful to be given a second chance.
Now, that was the case for Choi Ryong-hae, who is currently the closest aide to Kim Jong-un. And as you can see in this graph, Choi has also frequently moved up and down the power ladder. Now, another key appointment this year was Kim's sister Yeojung, who was given a vice ministerial position within the party. She is believed to be on the way to replace their aunt Kim Kyung-hee, who is also the wife of Jang Song-taek. And Kim Kyung-hee has not been seen in public for over a year, since September 2013.
Right. There are still various rumors about Kim Kyung-hee's whereabouts. Now, North Korea also made a series of unexpected diplomatic moves this year to end its diplomatic isolation.
Indeed, it opened talks with Japan on the abductee issue. It released its American detainees. It sent high-level officials to Russia a number of times, 3 or 4 times. But analysts call these efforts quite unsuccessful. Take a listen.
Led by the United Nations, North Korea came under strong pressure to improve its human rights issue. Consequently, its efforts to diversify diplomacy hit hurdles and the regime became even more isolated. I think it was a very difficult year.
Following a landmark UN report on North Korea's human rights violations earlier this year, the UN Security Council decided last week to include the issue on its agenda. The report outlines widespread human rights abuses in the North, including starvation, enslavement, and rape, and recommends the Security Council to refer North Korea to the International Criminal Court. But such referral is highly unlikely considering China's veto power. But now the Security Council can address the issue at any given time.
Which is a big step forward in adding more pressure on North Korea. And the latest news involving North Korea is the cyber attack on Sony Pictures. Now, it seems that Pyongyang has dug itself deeper into the hole with this incident.
That's right. President Obama has vowed proportional response, that he would review putting North Korea back on the list of state sponsors of terrorism. This, of course, like you said, was after Sony said it was canceling the release of the movie The Interview after a cyber attack on its corporate network and threats against potential moviegoers. And since then, we've seen disruptions to North Korea's internet connection, which Pyongyang is blaming Washington for. So it seems the release of this comic film has sparked fresh cyber warfare between the two longtime foes.
So should we expect North Korea to be even more isolated next year?
Well, Jindu, when things don't go right with the U.S., North Korea always seems to turn to South Korea. And it seems like this is the case this time as well. Last week, in a meeting with a former South Korean culture minister, North Korea's chief policymaker for South Korean affairs said he understands President Park Geun-hye's sincerity in improving inter-Korean relations. And you have to remember that North Korea has always been very critical of President Park and her North Korea policy. So some see this as an extension of an olive branch by Kim Jong-un ahead of next year, which marks the 70th anniversary of the division of the Korean Peninsula. And we are keeping a close eye to Kim's New Year's speech on January 1st, in which he is expected to introduce measures to improve inter-Korean relations. But again, when it finds itself cornered, North Korea could always launch fresh provocations. And analysts say a long-range rocket launch is the most likely possibility.
North Korea is definitely the world's one of the most unpredictable countries in the world. All right, thank you, Sung-hee, for that wrap-up this morning.
My pleasure.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, all the local papers today carry the dreadful news of a missing AirAsia passenger jet that was carrying at least 3 Korean nationals. You did hear all of the details earlier at the show, so just a brief mentioning of this image here. Take a look at 조선일보. And the title of the picture says, 3 Koreans aboard missing AirAsia plane. And the foreign ministry here says the 3 were a missionary couple in their 30s and their infant daughter. Now, families and relatives are desperately praying for the missing plane as well as the passenger's safe return. We'll quickly turn to this headline on the left now. It's a follow-up story of Friday's 조선일보 story, the daily series on the multinational Tumangang River project. And the headline says, developing Tumangang River border, North Korea, China, Russia's under-the-table negotiations. So the Tumangang River is a river that flows along the border between North Korea, China, and Russia. If we take a look at these sub-headlines, it says that the 3 countries have been aggressively planning and supporting the development project for the last 5 years, seeking to invest in and build this multinational city around the Tumangang River. The various countries have been competing with each other under the table, willing to also boost economic cooperation in light of constructing this economic belt. Now we'll go on to another front page image on 동아일보, this one right here. And this is called Chicken Infected with Highly Pathogenic Avian Influenza at Moran Market. First time for a metropolitan area this winter. An additional case of avian influenza has been confirmed at a market just south of Seoul. According to the government yesterday, a chicken at the traditional marketplace of Moran in Gyeonggi-do province has been confirmed to be infected with the highly pathogenic H5N8 strain of the animal disease. The Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs says the case marks the first of its kind confirmed in this whole metropolitan area. Now, all 18 shops that carry poultry products at the marketplace have been shut down, while some 3,200 livestock, along with other processed products from the shops, have been destroyed. And today we'll skip right on to our Economic Daily for a look at this headline in the middle on the Korea Economic Daily. It says record high numbers of startups, over 80,000 newly established corporations this year. Now, especially with the government's push to support and fund startup businesses, there's been a boom in founding technology-related companies, particularly by former conglomerate employees. If we go ahead and take a look at this graph, shows that for the first time ever, more than 80,000 new businesses are estimated to have been established this year alone. And the paper adds that investment in such startup ventures has also increased by almost 15% this year. And that was a look at our local headlines for this Monday. Now following are the stock numbers from Friday.
We are expecting some gloomy weather conditions this first day of the week, gloomy Monday.
You know, my question is, where's the snow? I was in Incheon over the weekend, and we got a little bit of rain instead of getting any snow or anything like that.
You want snow?
Right?
I think I'm done with snow.
I think I haven't seen it actually stack up. We've seen like little bit itsy-bitsy pieces here and there.
Go to Gangwon-do.
That's true, right? We'll go for the weather updates to Chun Sung-cho, who joins us with updates on that. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning. We're starting off the last week of the year 2014 with relatively warm and mild conditions this morning. Lots of clouds in the skies and warm westerly winds blowing from China are all keeping mercury levels above zero right now here in Seoul at 1 degree Celsius. However, with the winds comes yellow dust, mainly affecting the west as of now. Baekneungdo Island, as an example, off the western coast of the central regions is seeing levels of fine dust in the atmosphere to soar up to almost 200 micrograms per cubic meter, which is pretty high. This condition can spread to the rest of the nation as we move further into the day, so it'll be best if you try to stay indoors as much as possible. On Wednesday, when we say our final goodbye to this year, heavy precipitation, either rain or snow, is in the forecast all around the nation, which will continue to the next day. So we'll be greeting the year 2015 with whiteout conditions and a cold snap that will drop temperatures well below freezing. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings around the nation. Afternoon highs are looking a lot warmer all across the country and especially toward the south. Numbers surpass even the 10-degree mark in Busan and Jeju at 11 and 10 respectively. Seoul and Daejeon both remain the coldest at 7 degrees Celsius. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to the studio, Young.
Thank you very much, Song Cho, and to our viewers, stay warm out there this morning. And it's the end of 2014. It seems that domestic films are taking the lead in the box office. We'll talk about some of them that you should not miss. Joining us is Im Yoon-hee. Good morning.
Good morning. So the Korean movie industry will be ending this year on a high note. So after the release of a couple of Hollywood blockbusters, some domestic films have been changing the playing field. Here's a look at them. A story about the history of our fathers. The highly anticipated movie Ode to My Father, starring Hwang Jung-min and Kim Yoon-jin, has not disappointed in the box office. The movie centers around the famous Kukje, or international market in Busan, and follows the tale of one ordinary man throughout modern Korean history. And after bringing in over 1.5 million viewers over just one weekend, the movie sits at the #1 spot, beating out a Hollywood blockbuster and bringing many families together this holiday season.
The living memories of my past were hit with my father's memories as well. I was overwhelmed with emotions.
I cried and laughed a lot throughout the movie. I want to come back and watch it with my parents.
But you can't talk about the Korean movie industry without mentioning the record-breaking documentary My Love, Don't Cross That River. Since its release late November, the low-budget film has been steadily climbing charts. And after its popularity exploded, it's now being offered at hundreds of more theaters across the country.
Very popular movie. I understand that the grandmother in that story actually had to move out of her original place, the place, because there was so much fanfare over there. So many people looking for her for interviews, and she didn't want to be a part of that. Now, this began just as a very small indie film. There wasn't much expectations for it, but it just blew up.
So the director actually mentioned that nobody really expected the success that they are seeing with this film. So originally, it was offered at 189 theaters, and at one point it was being offered at over 800 theaters across the country, so that's a testament to its popularity. But really, this is the first indie film to have hit over 100,000 viewers in just 7 days, which is a huge mark for an indie film. And also, December 25th, just last week, it passed the 3 million mark, making it the most viewed documentary here in Korea. And the overall record of most viewed indie film is Begin Again, which just sits at 3.4 million, but people are saying that they expect this movie to surpass that quite soon.
Okay, well, it seems it's a sign of the times when you see a lot of the divorce rates go up and less people getting married nowadays. This is a story of an old couple who lived 70-some years together.
I think it's warming a lot of people's hearts.
That sure is, right? And this movie, Ode to My Father, or 국제시장, my father actually called from Los Angeles and he said, Johnny, you must watch this film. And it tells a story of the parents of that generation, the war generation, and the baby boomer generation.
People have been very fond of this movie as well, and they're saying it's really bringing their family together. But this film has actually been chosen to be shown at the International Film Festival in Berlin, the Panorama section. And so it's receiving quite a bit of attention. And as soon as next month, which is right around the corner now, they're going to be showing it in theaters across the world. And so we'll have to wait and see how it does there. But really a good movie, a couple good movies that are really bringing life into the Korean movie industry.
It's not about the big flashy cars. It's not about money and spending all the millions or whatever. But it's more about a humanistic story, a true story, a tale of living and life and supporting your children with the ones you love, right?
I think this time of year people really are appreciating these kinds of stories.
All right, thank you very much, Uni, for that.
It's always a pleasure.
Okay, now we're in the last week of the year 2014. You could bet we have a lot of reviews coming your way. And we'll start out with this one. Coming up later on, Korea Today Viral feed. We'll look at some of the most memorable viral videos on our segment here. We have a compilation that's prepared for you. We chose a couple keywords from the most viewed videos the past year, and they're going to come your way in a moment, and our Simon O is going to join us for that.
So yesterday there was a winter swimming competition in Pohang, Gyeongsang-Bukdo province, and hundreds of brave souls took part in this competition outdoors.
Right.
I think it's crazy.
I know. But they swam 200 meters in the icy cold water just for fun. For more on this story and others, we're now joined by Arirang here in the studio. Good morning,
Good morning,
Arirang.
Good morning,
guys. Not my idea of fun. I don't know about you guys. But before I get to that, let's first begin with some tech news. So tri-band LTE-A will be launched in Korea today for the first time in the world. Now, what this LTE-A is, it's the latest version of LTE, and it has speeds up to 300 megabits per second, which means that it is 4 times faster than normal LTE and 21 times faster than 3G. Means that, for your average movie, 1 gigabyte in size, they can download it in less than 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
I'm happy with LTE. Why are they trying to make it faster and faster and faster?
Right, well, I mean, that seems to be the general consensus that people are happy enough with the current LTE speeds. So it remains to be seen just how much this will catch on, but at the very least, it means that we're one step closer to developing the 5th generation wireless communication technology. And before we get excited, I know you have an iPhone 6, Min-jung, and you've been bragging about it, but the tri-band technology doesn't work with any phone just yet.
Boo-hoo.
Boo-hoo, yeah. The only phone at the moment is the new Samsung phone. It's the Galaxy Note 4S LTE that it will work with.
Well, she's happy with the LTE.
I'm happy with LTE. It's fast enough.
And I still have 3G, so I can't say anything there.
There's a lot of catching up to do, right?
And as you just heard earlier in our arts and culture, one of the hottest movies in cinemas right now is 국제시장, or A Note to My Father. Now, the Korean title of this film, 국제시장, literally translated as 국제 market or international market, is taken after a real-life traditional market down in Busan, which has been up and running since the 40s. And what's interesting is that the vendors down there, they say that because of the film's success, the number of visitors coming to check the markets out has increased. The number has quadrupled over the last 2 weeks.
So the movie is helping out the local economy there.
Exactly, a real life advantage as well. And now going back to that swimming competition in Pohang, let's have a look. So 500 brave souls entered into the icy cold water yesterday. Here they are trying to go in. Their mission was to swim out 100 meters into the sea and swim back 100 meters. People of all ages took part, from 8 to 60, and the winner this year was a 39-year-old man, beating all the young ones in their teens and 20s. Now, I got curious and had a look at the temperature down there for yesterday, and it was less than 4 degrees when this was going on at 10 a.m.
So below zero? Above zero, but still around 4 degrees Celsius.
That's
Oh, that's cold.
Especially in the water.
In the water, that must feel like below 40.
Exactly.
And why would they do that?
I know,
They did it for fun, but there must be a purpose.
So it's not for us, it's not for everyone, but there are some diehard fans out there who swear by it, and they say that it's life affirming, it's exhilarating, it's for the thrill-seeking crowd.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. You're welcome.
All right, well, still ahead on Korea Today, we are going to take a look at our horoscope and our fortune for next year. Are you looking forward to this?
Yes, I am. And we'd like to see what's in store for us for the next year by checking out our horoscope and Curious in Korea with a little help, of course. What is this yearly ritual all about, and do Koreans really believe in it? Find out on #CuriousInKorea.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2015 Asian Cup, which is set to kick off on January 9th in Australia. And as for the Korean national football team who arrived in Sydney, Australia on Saturday, there's a lot of work to be done for manager Uli Stilike, including selecting his captain. Despite Swansea City midfielder Ki Sung-young being named the captain during the first few months under manager Uli Stilike, that's not the case this time during the Asian Cup, as the 60-year-old manager has yet to select his captain in Australia. However, the three candidates at the moment are Kuja Char, the captain during the 2014 Brazil World Cup, Lee Chung-young, who has held the captain's armband before, and Ki Sung-young once again, who might continue to hold his position as Stilike's captain. And now moving over to golf this time, where Golf Week listed their top 10 LPGA stories of the year. And topping the list, Korean-American Michelle Wie. Now, despite being considered one of the biggest disappointments in women's golf at one point, Korean-American Michelle Wie had a breakout year in 2014 as she won the 2014 U.S. Women's Open. Now, her dramatic victory was listed as the top story of the year in Golf Week. Meanwhile, 17-year-old Lydia Ko's incredible rookie season was listed at number 3, while Christina Kim's dramatic win at the Lorena Ochoa Invitational was listed at number 4. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Simon O, and that, of course, means it's time for Viral Feed. Now, I've been having a blast in 2014 sharing the hottest topics on the internet with you each Monday. In fact, some of those images and videos were so much fun, it just seemed like a little bit of a shame to just let them fade away. So here's what I've done. You're in for a treat. You ready? It is a recap of the best videos we've had a look at in 2014's Viral Feed. Alrighty, let's get started right away with our first story. And keeping in vein with that story that we just heard about people jumping into the frigid ocean waters, I, for no one, would not be able to do that. I'm a little bit scared of that sort of thing. In fact, it takes me a while to get the shower warm enough to jump in the morning. That said, though, we have a collection of thrill seekers who take the word daredevil to a completely different level. Let's take a look. Now, you guys remember these guys?
No.
They are b-boys who pulled off some amazing moves at the edge of the roof of a skyscraper.
My father told me not to do that.
Seriously, again, this is definitely one of those do not try this at home videos.
My mom
this
would
is
kill me.
Terrifying. I mean, it's
you
impressive
don't end
enough.
up killing yourself after that.
It's impressive enough that they can dance like that, but on a skyscraper? Now look at these guys. Here's a way to blast away the summer's heat. How about a jump off a 50-foot cliff?
Yeah, that's cool, as long as you don't belly flop, right?
I mean, we've all done the slip and slide thing, but this, again, just a completely different level. Look at that. And so beautifully filmed. This one, you guys remember this? Maybe the craziest of the bunch. People turned themselves into ammo for a human slingshot.
I'm sure there's people out there that would love to have me on there and just let me go.
Letting go. I'm glad you mentioned it because this is a bungee jump where you let go and there is no rope to hold you, just a free fall.
Someone would cut the net out on me.
And finally, rider Danny McCaskill biking across Skye Island in Scotland. I've seen this before, but that doesn't make it any less harrowing or any less beautiful to watch. Look at some of the biking moves this guy pulls off.
Amazing.
It's so nonchalant. It's unbelievable.
You could pay me $1 million. I would do none of the above.
For $1 million?
No way. Maybe 2 million? Yeah.
2 million, maybe
I'll do it for $1 million.
Stick your toes into
maybe
the cold water.
Maybe the bungee jump. No,
maybe the
never.
bungee jump. I don't know. It's just, we've seen these videos before, but still it gives me chills watching them again. Now, we've talked about time-lapse photography here on Viral Feed a couple times over the year. Basically, it refers to taking several images at a set interval, and then you connect them into a video. Well, this year, several of the videos actually got a lot of clicks here at Korea Today, so we're gonna have a look at some of the best tours via this sort of time-lapse photography around Korea. Let's take a look. Again, it's the second time around, but no less impressive. The video you're watching now was produced by English teacher Noe Alonzo, and it was meant to provide publicity on Korea for foreign viewers. It took a total of, get this, 38 months to complete.
And And we had him as a guest on our Friday segment.
Right.
Came out for an interview.
Unbelievable. And then there was this. It was a tour of Korea's famous ancient palaces produced by a major daily newspaper here in Korea. This video took over 8,000 photographs. And look how seamlessly they come together. It is. I mean, I've been to these palaces before, but it's almost like seeing them for the first time because it's just shown so beautifully. And finally, we head over across the border to Pyongyang, a city that's normally shrouded in mystery. We don't usually get a look in there, but this time-lapse tour offered us a pretty amazing glimpse of what it's like there in the day-to-day. Look at that. The weather's gotten colder since this video, of course, and I do wonder what the city must look like now as we head into the new year, but that sort of time-lapse photography. We have videos, we have photographs, and we've even had things like stop motion for a while, but I think that this new development of time-lapse imagery, it does really show things in an interesting and new light. I happen to have this function on my phone, time-lapse photography, and I've used it precisely 0 times. So maybe that's
maybe next year.
Yeah, for next
New
year, that's a
Year's
resolution.
resolution.
Maybe that's something I need to start working on. Alrighty, let's go on to our next story. I happen to be a big fan of not essential, but helpful life hacks. And we've gone over quite a few this past year. But in case any of you have missed any of them, here's what I've done. I've been very generous. I've put together a review of the best life hacks. So get your pens and your notepads ready. Here we go. Alrighty, let's start with easy ways to enjoy messy foods. You can use a fork to remove kernels of corn and keep the unwanted bits
Genius.
away from your teeth. It's super convenient. Mangoes, they're delicious, but very hard to get to. So you just press it along the lip of a glass, and there you go. It pops out all that juicy goodness and none of the mess. And this, I've done this a lot of times since I've seen this video. Basically, it's turning a bag of chips into a serving bowl. See that? Just a little strategic circular tearing, and voila.
That requires a lot of patience, and I don't have that.
Pretty
He's
and
quite
functional.
good at this, in fact.
Just put it in my mouth. All right, here we go. A rubber band on your palm turns out to be the perfect tool for picking up stray hairs. You see that? And this, super helpful. If you have a stubborn knot in a plastic bag,
That is really helpful.
so helpful.
What happened?
Push
Now,
at the
basically, you
tip,
twist it up to a point where you form like a hard stick type of material with the bag.
and then you push it
through.
instead of pulling it.
Oh.
And finally, if you're traveling anywhere for the new year, here's how to save room in your luggage. Layer all your clothes together and turn them into a bundle. Now, I've actually done this very recently on a quick sort of weekend trip with my wife. I couldn't believe how much space that saves.
What if you want to wear what's on way on the inside?
That's
You
the
just
problem. When you
undo.
do get to where you're going to have to
everything.
unfold your clothes again. But
That's
if you're
the
like
whole
me,
point.
that's not a problem because it's a small price to pay. Also, keep in mind it keeps your clothes wrinkle-free, so very, very helpful. Alrighty, going on to our next story. Probably the reaction that I enjoy getting out of you the most is, "Aw." And there is no easier way to do it than with babies and pets. Super easy, cake. So let's see if these will get you to smile and say, "Aw," a second time around. Let's have a look. Now, recently on Korea Today, we did a report on mukbang, or eating broadcasts, but it turns out it's not just a human thing. Rabbits, we had this dog eating corn, no fork to get the kernels out for this guy, and this Jindo dog who knows that only the red part is super sweet on a watermelon. This was my favorite. This beagle took a baby's toy and the baby cried. So feeling guilty, he went around the house and gathered all the toys in there to bring back the little
He's
baby.
like, fine, you have them all.
If you must. This was also good. The differences in child rearing habits between dogs and cats. The dog, you can see, is cautious and gentle and patient.
Like
Look at
a
that.
loving
The cat,
mom.
not so much.
Push them off. You just jump in the
Tough
deep
love.
end.
This video also got a lot of reaction as well. Basically, it was about a monkey that got electrocuted on train tracks. And his buddies said, "We're not leaving you back there." So they took him out from that little hole there and massaged him back to health. He made a full recovery.
Wow.
Next up, a collection of the best baby videos. Here's how you put baby to sleep. It could be a magic nappy, or it could be showing them the images of themselves on the phone. Or look at this, the Vulcan nose grip. But here's the tricky part. After you finally put baby to sleep, how do you get away without waking him or her back up? Well, sometimes you've got to be as dexterous and as skilled as a ninja. Look at that.
It's like Mission Impossible.
It almost is, isn't it? Now, dads sometimes have a reputation for not being the best parents, but I beg to differ. Take a look at this. Here we have a dad who turned a stroller into a hot rod. We have dads training babies to be young bodybuilders or breakdancers. Again, not B-boy, but B-baby. Check out those moves. And look at this.
This is classic.
Kind of a life hack as well. That's how you make a perfect ponytail.
You know, can this dad give you a little piece of advice about putting babies to sleep? You know what really works? For some reason, turning on a vacuum cleaner or a hair dryer, for some reason, that noise basically puts them right to sleep.
I've actually heard that the explanation for that is that a vacuum cleaner sounds almost exactly like what a baby hears in the mother's womb. So apparently that suits them.
All right, so vacuum your home.
Vacuum. My wife would love you. All righty, let's go on to our final recap. It hasn't just all been fun and games here on Viral Feed in 2014. We've also had a number of videos that have moved us, that have touched our hearts. Now we're going to take a look back at some of the best of them. Let's have a look. Now remember this video? It deals with the military service, which is mandatory for most Korean men. And as these young boys, really, they're about to get their hair cut and enter into the service, all of a sudden, their parents appear in the mirror. Now this made me tear up a little bit because it speaks not just to the men who are about to go into the service, but their parents as well. And I'd like to take this opportunity again, and as always, we salute and thank the men who serve our nation. It really is thanks to them that we can rest easy at night. Next, there was a video about testing how honest Korean people are. It was a simple experiment. They basically left about 100 expensive-looking gift bags and flowers unattended. Now, out of those 100 samples, get this, 87 of them were returned to their original owners via the Lost and Found Center. 87. Think of all the effort it would take to get those things back to their owners, and yet such a high turnout rate. Now remember this gentleman? Known as Mr. Yu, he voluntarily worked to clear up the streets in Bahrain. Caused quite a sensation among the young people there for doing all this volunteer work. Now we recently learned that he was in Korea, so we went over for a quick meeting.
마지막 날인데 인터뷰에 잠깐 응하고 이렇게 왔는데 나중에 동영상을 보내와가지고 그때서야 알게 됐습니다. 제가 12월 2일 날 바레인을 방문을 했습니다. 어떤 분들이 꽃다발을 들고 이렇게 나와 계세요. 이 바레인 환경 최고위원회에서 저를 환영을 나온 거예요. 그래가지고 그 공항에서 그 환경 최고 업적 공로패를 저한테 수여를 하시는 거예요.
Impressive. Now get this. Here's what's really impressive. Everywhere he goes, Mr. Yu carries around the utensils and bags he needs to clean up the streets whenever he finds litter. He's always prepared to do this.
2015년부터는 제가 노력을 해서 우리나라 환경운동이 개선이 된다면 이거보다 더 큰 보람은 없을 것이다. 이렇게 확신을 하고 있습니다.
This guy is my new personal hero as we head into the new year because what he does it's nothing unbelievable. It doesn't require any incredible talent. It's something that all of us can do and almost none of us do. And this is a guy who says, I can do that. Let's do it. So
he should be the Minister of Environment or something.
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty impressive. Now, I gotta say, this week's Viral Feed was the toughest I've ever had to do because it was really difficult just getting the best of the best in here. But I think this has been a pretty good recap of what we've done last year here on Viral Feed. Don't worry though, 2015's around the corner and there's going to be much, much more. For now, I've been Simon O with Viral Feed.
So 2015 is just around the corner. You know, you want to know what's in store for next year. You always want to know. Right?
Yeah, I want to know.
You do.
Yeah.
Right, and our fortune teller, Megan Bowen, will tell us all about our fortune and much more. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. So as the year is ending, I noticed a lot of Korean people go and get their fortunes told, and so that was something that was really curious to me. So that was the item that I brought today, was checking out The New Year fortunes.
A lot of maybe not so much young Koreans, but older Koreans did really go to these fortune tellers and got their fortunes read.
True. I've never had my fortune told because I come from a Christian family.
Religious
so,
reasons.
So I'm really
Today,
excited.
Today it's happening.
All right, so let's take a look at your report.
Right, let's take a look. In just a few days, we'll be greeting the first sunrise of a brand new year. Young Koreans these days often consult free services online for the New Year's fortunes. Benefiting this modern trend, many companies hold New Year's fortune-telling events. They're most often provided by companies that sell services and consumer goods. So why are Koreans so interested in fortune-telling?
I've tried it as a joke. It was fun, trying to predict things in advance.
I just did it because others were doing it. It feels good to hear positive predictions.
It's because I'm curious how I should start a year, because there's a certain sense of anxiety, just to be on the safe side.
There are many ways to have your fortune told in Korea. I started with a fortune-telling cafe, something that's popular among the younger generation. It was packed with people trying to look into their future.
몇 년생이에요?
89년생이요.
저 이름은?
이름은
메가니? 한글 씁시다. 이런
Made up a name.
집을 구입을 하든지 이사를 가든지 이런 운도 있어요. 전체적으로는 좋은 해고 몸이 아주 건강해. 먹는 거 아주 좋아하고 자기 식탐이 좀 있어.
Do you enjoy eating?
그래도 살은 안 찔 것 같아. 계속.
So that was the bit of news that I liked the best. But I also wanted to hear what kinds of questions Korean people came and try to get answered.
So why did you come to this cafe today?
I'm preparing for a test, so I'm curious about my luck in that and in my love life.
I wanted to know how my love life and finances will be next year.
I'm employed at a company now, and I'm curious how things will work out.
We are here to have our New Year's fortunes told and to see how compatible we are for marriage next year.
A bit of etiquette among fortune tellers is that they only tend to focus on the positive predictions, and I guess that's why everyone looks so happy.
So what did they tell you about your future for next year?
I was told things don't look that great for the early part of the year, but that I should keep my hopes up because everything will improve.
So do you believe in what the fortune teller tells you?
It sticks in my head, but I don't believe it all.
It was believed in the East that the year, month, date, and hour that one was born would determine one's fate. Some scholars explain that this is based on data accumulated over thousands of years. 500 years ago, Confucian scholar Yi Ji-ham imported a book on the topic from China and retooled it to better fit Korea. The book he wrote is one of Korea's best sellers, 도정 비결. Originally written in Chinese, it's now available translated into Korean, and as such, it has become even more popular.
When you buy a women's magazine early in the year, they often offer a copy of 도정 비결 as a free extra. I didn't buy any magazines this year, so I visited the bookstore with my daughter to maybe pick up a copy.
So how popular is the book really? I spoke with an employee at the bookstore to find out.
Publication of 도정 비결 takes place all at once at the end of the year. We only sell 1 or 2 copies most month, but the number increases more than tenfold at year's end.
Since we're on the topic, let's take a look at what the traditional fortune-telling technique of 도정 비결 has to teach us.
생년월일과 함께 숫자가 있어요. 그 밑에. 예를 들어 내년에 33살이 되는 사람의 경우에는 밑에 6이 나와 있죠. 2월 5일에 태어났다 라고 한다면 2월이라고 나오죠. 여기에 5일이라고 써 있죠. 이렇게 2월과 5일이 이렇게 교차되는 숫자가 2번이죠.
I first learned how to read 도정 비결. One of the reasons for its great popularity is that all you need to know is the year, month, and day of one's birth. So you may be wondering why I'm grinning. Actually, it's because I am so consulted an expert to have a look at the New Year's fortune for the Korea Today MC.
And you
Nice.
just had to
음력
use
12월
those
달에
pictures.
경비가
They're so
때때로 오니
nice.
배꼽이 풍성하다. 돈이 쌓이는 일들이 나타나고.
So remind me to stay close to Young this year. Let's be friends.
음력 2월 달에 집에 경사가 있으니 반드시 생남한다라는 의미가 있습니다.
Ooh, I was told Minjung will have good luck all year.
모든 일들이 좀 흥미가 되기 때문에 자식들과 아내들이 모두 다 같이 기뻐할 수 있는 좋은 일이 나타난다 이렇게 보시면 될 것 같습니다. 자, 음력 11월 달에 창앞에 도화가 홀로 불빛을 띠고 아주 잘생기고 좀 이제 멋있게 생긴 남자가 나타나서
He's that handsome.
매력을 느끼는 사람이 나타나서 연애를 하게 될 수 있는 좋은 운들이 나타나고 있다 이렇게 말씀을 드릴 수 있고요.
So with such great luck predicted for the MCs, I'm guessing it will be a fantastic year for Korea Today as well.
So in America, when we get our fortunes told, we just do it for fun and we don't actually believe in the fortunes. But I wonder if the Korean people actually believe in their year-end fortunes.
This was my biggest question. What sort of attitude or perspective do Koreans have toward New Year's fortune telling?
I'm not the gullible type, but the predictions do stay in my head, and I sometimes wonder whether it's relevant when something happens.
I run a business, so I sometimes do have my fortune told to see which paths I should take.
I just keep it in mind. I don't believe it completely.
I do tend to believe I don't have my fortune told at all, lest it turn out to be true.
I don't trust it completely, but if there are good things said, it's a basis to think more positively.
I do and I don't believe it. When I hear good things, I assume it must be good. And if I hear something bad, I'm more careful. That's about it.
I discovered a sense of wisdom among Korean people, finding happiness in good predictions and humility in bad ones. And I hope everyone will experience only the best of luck in the new year.
Yeah, so you have some of the 토저 비결 chart over there, which actually just basically gets anyone's birthday and kind of lays out a fortune according to thousands of years of history.
Right.
Huh.
So
And show us how this is done.
Right, so I'll show you today. We'll be using the lovely Minjung's information. Okay, so first you find your age.
Which you will not say, of course.
18 years old. Awesome. See, 1,
Multiply
8.
by 5.
Not. Okay, so your number, first number is 2. Okay, and then you just want to find the month you were born. Okay, so you were born in the 3rd month.
Right.
Okay, so
The
now
lunar calendar.
right. So 6. And then you want to find the day. So go down to the 3rd month and then the 8th day, which gives you 3.
Okay, and what does that mean?
2, 6, so your number is 263.
All right.
So now we have a book.
Wow, must be like the Bible of
Right.
fortune telling.
So then we find your number,
Okay.
263,
All right.
okay, in the book. And then it gives you, okay,
Ta-da.
so here we go.
Ooh,
263 here.
And
All right.
And then everything is laid out by the months. So you can look at your fortune for every month.
Wow, that is pretty neat. Let me take
Right,
a look.
take a look.
Wow, it tells you by every month.
Right,
The
every
first
month.
2nd month, 3rd month. Wow. So, okay. So don't go south, it says.
Don't
on
go
the
south.
third.
No
Shouldn't
Jeju
be
for you.
going to things like that. So things
No
to that
Jeju
effect.
Right.
All right, interesting, huh?
It is
And
very
Jeju,
interesting.
And
I'm
you are
quite
getting a
excited.
boyfriend in November.
But it's too far away. It's the 11th month on the lunar New Year calendar.
Right.
That means I have to stay single for another year or so.
But I heard,
Congratulations.
Another year for a lifetime
if you
of happiness.
complain, I heard if you complain about a good fortune, then you will cancel it out.
There you
Oh,
go.
no.
You just
So,
canceled
I won't
it out right
complain.
there. No more heavy
Now
in the
you just, I
future.
mean, you just complained. I don't know if it's canceled or not. So
No, I won't complain.
we'll see what happens then.
Yeah, we'll scratch that part out.
We'll
and
see
just
what
edit that,
happens
right?
then.
Oh, interesting. I'm just so engrossed in this book
was
now.
what
You
I
shouldn't have
know.
given it to me.
Well, I noticed, in America, we do these things more so for fun, but I noticed in Korea, it's kind of different, especially when you listen to the interviews. Some people were a little bit anxious about the new year, and they're just like, oh, what's going to happen? So I just kind of saw how they use it more so to kind of reassurance and to know how to, act and go into the new year because they feel a little bit
But
anxious.
I think it's important for everyone to know that nothing is really set in stone, and
That's
the
true.
decisions that you make right now in the present can affect what your future is going to be.
Right. Not a lot of people swear by this or
Right.
any other fortune telling. It's just for fun.
It is
and a
very
little,
fun.
you know.
Give it to me.
He's gonna study
He's
it.
gonna
like
do it.
his life depends on it. Right?
I know,
All right.
maybe
Thank you so
later.
much, Megan.
All right, thank you.
All right. All right. Well, this is where we say goodbye on this Monday morning.
All right, we hope your fortune for today is good. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.